the video and then practice these. All right, so here we've got an image, and this is a political cartoon, and it's called The Protectors of Industry. And then notice up here we've got these men, and they're sitting on big money bags with millions of dollars, Vanderbilt, Gould, Fields, and then they're all sitting up there fat and happy. But look who is carrying them, all of these laborers, and they are literally on their back. And then it's showing how much they make a week. They only make $5 a week, $7 a week. And then they're here in this ocean of hard times. So look at what the question is asking. So in A, briefly explain the point of view about the economy expressed by the artist. So what does the artist think about this whole economic arrangement? And briefly explain a development in the period that would support the point of view of the artist, and then give a development from the period that would challenge or oppose the point of view of the artist. You're going to be doing the same thing that you did with the passages here. You're going to identify, so here, what point of view does the artist have? I'm going to identify that. I'm going to say the artist expresses a negative point of view that opposes the exploitation of workers in the growing industrial capitalist system. So this whole idea of big business, he's got a negative view of it and thinks that they're exploiting the workers. Then I have to explain, where did I get this from? How do I know that that's what's being shown in the image? The negative view is shown in the image by workers wading through the water labeled hard times while literally shouldering the vast wealth of the big business leaders like Gould, Vanderbilt, and Fields. Notice that I brought in something specific from the image. That's proving my point. Now I need something that would support and show that businessmen were exploiting workers. So here I've got a development from the period that supports the artist's point of view would be a lack of support for workers on strike at the Homestead Steel strike. So I'm going to say that these workers were taken advantage of at Homestead Steel. The Pinkertons, and now I've got to explain, how were they not protected? The Pinkertons were called in, and there was no government support for the workers trying to use collective bargaining to improve their wages and conditions. Then I've got to tie it back to the image, just like we did before. We've got to make sure, if this is my explanation that the workers were not being protected, how is this shown in the image? This is shown in the image by the artist, indicating the low weekly wages that workers had while the owners were resting comfortably on the bags of millions of dollars. So here's my answer. Here I've defined what happened at the Homestead Steel strike, and then here I've tied it back to the image. All right, now we've got to come up with one that would oppose it. So where could we see that maybe these businessmen weren't taking advantage of, or the workers weren't totally on their own and unprotected? So here's my answer. A development from the period that would oppose the artist's point of view is the federal government's passage of the Sherman Antitrust Act in the 1890s. Now, I may not remember the exact year that the Sherman Antitrust Act was passed, but I know that it was in this decade. So I'm going to, kind of leave myself some wiggle room there. But I've got to define what the law was. The law made it illegal for the business leaders to be unrestricted in their strategies and business practices. While not necessarily ensuring higher wages for workers, the law would have an effect on beginning to limit the leadership of these businesses and potentially open up further regulations once their ability to create monopolies was gone. Well, then I was about to run out of time, or run out of space, but I have to tie it back to brands. This image shows that business leaders this shows the business leaders with no restrictions at all by the government. All right, so that would be challenging that idea. All right, so there is a kind of a short overview of some practice with some short answer questions, and I want us to come back and then talk about a few other topics within this time period, and then do some practice with a DBQ and an LEQ. So let's review some more of this information. I